Before I talk about Impact for this week, I need to talk about Impact last week and something that I said in my Impact review that was factually inaccurate. As soon as I said it and realized that I said it, I should have stopped right then and there, but maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. And for that, I apologize. I am all for knocking something for what it deserves to be knocked for. And I'm still going to do that with the MVP being the TNA investor. There's a lot of things to knock about it. However, privately held companies can have a board of directors. Difference being is the roles of a board of directors in a privately held company as opposed to a publicly traded entity. So you'll hear more often, much more often, about publicly traded companies and their board of directors than you will from a privately held company. But that doesn't mean that it still doesn't exist. And, it's something that I should have caught it. I should have caught myself saying it. I think I got caught up in the fact I was surprised to hear MVP refer to a board of directors when I don't think that's ever anything I've really heard on Impact Wrestling at all. Them reference the board of directors. They went more with the network angle than they have with a board of directors. So I think it was my surprise that they actually mentioned it that caught me off guard and led to the air. I need to do a better job of making sure that when I do knock something, I have all of my facts straight. So with that being said, yes indeed, privately held companies can have a board of directors. I wanted to make sure that I addressed that. Now let's talk about Impact for this week. I actually thought Impact got off to a really hot start this week for about the first 45 minutes or so of the show. And that in general helped make it a good watch for me this week because that first 45 minutes really felt like it flew by. Almost the first hour of the show, really, frankly. And when that happens, when that basically first half of the show flies by so quickly, it makes it seem like it was a very easy watch. So you kick off an opening segment. Yes, sometimes I hate when wrestling shows consistently start off with talk segments to kick off a show. Hey, it is whatever. I love when TNA goes to the UK because, man, oh man, does it change the whole entire feel, aura, atmosphere, ambiance of the show, whatever you want to call it. It truly does. When TNA is in front of a real-sized wrestling crowd in a real kind of wrestling venue, if you will, it makes it feel so much more big league. It doesn't even make any sense. And I think it helps accentuate a lot of the stuff that we see. Whereas if we saw some of this stuff, whether it was good or not, if it was in a high school gym in front of 250 people or it was in the old Impact Zone or where they're at now at Universal Studios, man, it just doesn't have the same feeling. And it was really great to see how much heat Magnus was getting as the world champion. I'm sure a little bit of that noise may have been pumped in, but not very much. Not very much at all. He's doing a good job of getting heat, where I thought it was going to be maybe a bit of a challenge with him going over to the UK as the first British world champion of a major wrestling company in the United States in history. So they've done a good job there. And, MVP so far has been good on the mic. He's been good with the stick. And that's helping this angle. There's no doubt about it. Whether or not I necessarily like it or not, because it just feels like yet another TNA power struggle, I will say that he's been on the mark for the most part on the mic so far. And then you transition right into what ultimately ended up being a tag team ladder match where you have the Feast or Fired briefcases on the line. EC3's tag title shot versus Gunner's world heavyweight title shot. And, this whole thing was, he comes out at the beginning and he's saying that next week he wants to cash in on Magnus. And I like the fact that instead of always having to do it an underhanded or sneaky way like the WWE does, they're basically having Gunner come out and saying, I'm not afraid, I don't fear you, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to tell you about it. I'm even going to give you a week to prepare for it before I do it. But you're going to know it's coming. I like that. It makes it feel different. It makes the guy that's trying to do it, much more credible in my eyes. And this tag team ladder match was okay, and Gunner ends up winning both the World Heavyweight title shot and the tag title shot. So him and James Storm are celebrating. I was wondering, I was like, man, maybe this would be interesting. You could go to a whole different direction if James Storm would have gotten both of the briefcases. I'm just throwing that out there. But like I said, a really good start to the show. And then we got the American Wolves debut tag match, a 6-man tag with them and Samoa Joe versus the Bromans and Zima Ion. And, you know, I actually was hoping they would have spotlighted and showcased the American Wolves a little bit more. Maybe you didn't even need to have Samoa Joe out there at this point, frankly. But you are trying to rectify several years of previous wrongs done to Samoa Joe and the Samoa Joe character. So, obviously, the crowd was really behind him. They were digging the Wolves. I'm glad to see the Wolves in TNA. I feel like that's where they belong. They're being brought in as an important piece in a big spot in that tag team division, which is what they should be at this point in time. I'm down for it. I'm down for the way they're treating Samoa Joe. And, you know, even at the end, you get the nice mark-out moment with Samoa Joe winning with his rear naked choke. Like I said, it was a really, really good start to the show, and then Abyss happened. So in follow-up to what happened last week, this week you're going to have Eric Young wanting Abyss to basically answer for himself. We're going to get answers, and oh, hell. And it seemed like, to me, this segment did everything it could to suck a lot of the life out of the show, and I think the fans there in Manchester would agree with me. You know, it's kind of one of these things that, as the Joseph Park character and that storyline was going along, I'm like, you know, this is really good. I like this character. It's refreshing, and I still stand by that. I did. But at some point in time, when you realize they're going to start winding it down, you're like, how are they going to really wind it down? And it just gives me that feeling that ultimately it's going to lead to disappointment. And that's what it kind of seems like here. You know, it really, really it was disappointing. And, you know, it's all about Abyss basically going away again. So you do all this shit after all this time where the Abyss character really wasn't around, to come full circle just to have Abyss basically leave again. Now, if you're going to sit there and tell me that he needs to go find himself and he needs to find somebody that can help him, and that involves maybe a Father James Mitchell, that's something different. Then I will come on here and I would mark out for that, if you will. Yeah. But if it doesn't, and it's just an excuse for Abyss to go away for a period of time, that's sad, and that just frankly sucks that this was the big payoff. I don't know. And all the while, you know, they took their great comic relief character to me in Eric Young and tried to make him much more serious. And it's just not really working. I miss some of the fun, crazy, kind of off-the-wall stuff that Eric Young used to do. I don't really like what they do with Eric Young now. I just wonder what was really the point of having MVP wrestle Rockstar Spud and basically squash him like this. What was really the point? Now, to me, if anything, you're kind of gumming up the works. Is MVP the investor? Is he an office personnel, or is he a professional wrestler? Is he going to be a wrestling person only, or is he going to be a hybrid, a combination? It just felt unnecessary to me. That's the best way I could put it. There's no way in the world you were going to tell me that a Rockstar Spud was going to beat an MVP any damn ways. I guess, unless that was the whole point. But did you really need to do that? It just seemed like it was kind of unnecessary for this week's show, frankly. I was wondering what they were going to do with Chris Sabin and Velvet Sky this week, knowing the rules that TNA has to play by, or they can't have any male-on-female violence on Spike TV, I assumed they were going to do something, but they needed to do something that would give some type of payoff to this and let Velvet Sky get her moment and have Chris Sabin get his uppance. And they gave us that. So I don't have a problem with that. I thought this is actually pretty well done. You know, Velvet was good here, and Chris Sabin was gold. He was genius here. This was actually a really good segment. And hell, we got the introduction of a new knockout. You know, and she fucked Velvet up. We need as many new knockouts as you could possibly muster at this point in time. So, nothing to complain about with any of that stuff. My one question is, this was supposed to be a match, technically. And there was a referee out there. But I never heard the bell ring. Maybe I missed it, but I never heard the bell ring. As a result, wouldn't that technically mean that the match never really started? Just fine. Just fine. But if the match never really started, why would the referee be getting ready to count the pinfall for Chris Sabin over Velvet Sky if the match never started? Or if the match did start and there was a bell ring and I just didn't hear it, then why wouldn't he disqualify Chris Sabin instantly once there was any type of outside interference and award the victory to Velvet Sky via disqualification, therefore not necessitating having to get down to attempt to do the 1, 2, 3 in any way, shape, or form? I know I think I saw a trademark 629 trying to fight the good fight on this against Dave Lagana, and Dave Lagana, frankly, is wrong. This is the type of dumb, dick, stupid stuff that TNA has done over the years that makes absolutely no damn sense. There will be no answer for this. They just don't care, apparently. How about some damn professional pride in what you do? Seriously, did the ref screw it up? Was it somebody didn't explain to him how the basic fundamental wrestling 101 rules really worked? I don't know. But without a bell to start the match, there's no official match, therefore meaning that the referee would not have any pinfall to count. Or if the match did start and there was interference and it wasn't a no DQ match or anything like that, then the referee would instantly stop the match and award the victory to the other person via disqualification. Come on, TNA. Come on, Dave Lagana. Come on, everybody involved with this stuff. Tighten up your damn ship and address these gaping logic and fucking plot holes, whatever the hell you want to call them. When a wrestling fan, scrubs like us, can point this shit out and you apparently don't get it, that is sad and frankly very pathetic. Willow. Willow the Wisp. I chose not to watch the last match of the night, the casket match between Bully Ray and Mr. Anderson, especially once I saw the coffin. I'm like, I was going to sit there and give him the benefit of the doubt and still watch it. Well, once I saw that cheap, hokey-looking fucking coffin, that casket, if you will, I said, nope, I've seen this match enough. I've seen these two guys feud enough for far too damn long. I don't care, therefore I'm not watching it, and therefore I'm not talking about it anymore. There are three major reasons why I hate power struggle storylines when it comes to TNA. Number one is it seems to be the storyline that always dominates and overbears on everything else. And this one here, no different. MVP Dixie Carter, this is crap you see all throughout the night, and yet again it closes the show. Number two is that we've seen it so many damn times. I'm tired of it. You know, if you can't come up with new ideas, maybe come up with some new people that can give you some new ideas. How many times do we need to see effectively power struggle storylines? Number three is they always seem to end up with these gaping logic and plot holes that you could drive a Mack truck through. It's that simple. And you can look at every single kind of power struggle or authority figure versus authority figure storyline involving TNA since 2002, and you always see those three same basic characteristics carry over. I guess here's my question, is it almost seems like they're presenting MVP as a figure that's coming in to do a hostile takeover. Well, if it's a privately held company, he didn't have shares to go buy on the stock market, so he wouldn't have been able to obtain 51% or more ownership of the company that way. So if it's a privately held company, he would have had to have bought somebody else's ownership in the company, and with it having to go through, let's say something like that, a board of directors that Dixie Carter as president of TNA, she would have been on that board. Wouldn't she have known of this to begin with? And as a result, wouldn't she have had a vote in that? And wouldn't she have known who the identity of the investor was all along? I'm saying, if that was the case and he was the majority owner, then what she says wouldn't matter anyways. And on the flip side, if she, even though she's only the president, if she somehow magically was a 51% owner and MVP was not, then what he would say really wouldn't matter in the grand scheme of things because she's the majority owner. Now, being the president of the company, you would assume more likely than not, since she's not CEO, that she would not be at the head of the board of directors, meaning her voice is not the ultimate voice anyways. Wouldn't an exchange like this between two individuals, like this lethal lockdown match, MVP's 4 versus Dixie Carter's 4, the winning team, that person gets the other person's shares, if you will, or percentage of ownership, and therefore gets to control the company? Wouldn't that be something that would have to be approved by your board of directors? Why would Dixie Carter even feel compelled to do this if the board of directors didn't tell her to or didn't vote on it and agree to do it to begin with? And now that we get into this whole thing talking about ownership, are we to sit there and assume that Dixie is majority owner and MVP is minority owner? Well, if that's the case, then again, why would MVP have any real say so in anything? And if she's not majority owner and he's not majority owner, and their two combined ownership percentages still didn't equal 51%, then they still wouldn't be majority owner any frickin' ways. And as a result, they ultimately wouldn't have control and final say so over the company. Oh, god damn it, I've gone cross-eyed. Probably more stuff that won't be explained, more stuff that won't be followed up on, and the number of gaping plot and logic holes in this next generation power struggle authority storyline in TNA will only grow from here. Oh boy, I can't wait. One last thing. I have an old Impact review from the original Off the Rope Show channel from 2011 that I still had saved somehow, some way. And it was interesting when I went back and watched that, how much different I used to review Impact compared to now. And it was amazing how much more fun it felt like I had the way I used to review it as opposed to now. I put effort into it. I put thought into it. I attempted to have fun and make it fun for you and be creative and do creative things in a way that only the Schleg Daddy could. And now you get this instead. Those of you that actually watch these Impact reviews on a week in, week out basis, I applaud you and I thank you, and I don't know how you do it. Not to say that I don't have some good things to say, but I'm kind of ashamed of myself, just like with the Raw reviews, that I've allowed what used to be my baby on the old Off the Rope Show channel, the Impact reviews, I've allowed them to become what they have become, which are boring, kind of monotonous in sound, and not entertaining and not interesting and not fun to do or to watch in any way, shape, or form. So next week, I'm going to shake it up, try to recapture some of that old magic, and have some damn fun talking about Impact Wrestling. See what I can get done.